And hello, folks. Here we are for another episode of the Mini PC Show Big Talk Small Computers. It's episode 126, brought to you by a Patreon sponsor called Melon Bread. How's it going, Dor?
Hey, Rich. It's going actually pretty good. I'm happy this is the second show we've done in under a month, so we're like ahead of the game.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing okay, is what I'll say. I'm never experienced this before in my life, but at my job, we're getting ready to experience like a genuine crunch time where they're telling me from November the 11th through December the 31st, I'm not able to take any leave, which
Oh, okay.
I've never had witnessed before in my life. So I'm like really confused.
So wait. From what date to what date?
November the 11th to December 31st.
So Thanksgiving, New Year's, Christmas, all that.
Well, we're going to have the normal state holidays that are there,
Okay.
but we can't take off. Now, of course, my boss said to me, if your kid needs to go to the doctors or you get COVID or whatever, yes, we understand that. But we're asking you don't take off unless you absolutely have to. So it isn't like, I'm working in Silicon Valley or anything, but
I'd be getting COVID.
well, I'll just put it like this. I know a couple years ago they tried to do something similar and it didn't end well for the government.
Uh-huh.
But hey, that's a different story. I want to thank Swift for joining us. Swift is an awesome guy down here in Baltimore. If you want to watch us live, it's very easy. You can follow us on Facebook, which I don't actually interact with, but I automatically post there thanks to Hootsuite. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Discord, or you can send me an email, and I will let you know when we go live as soon as I possibly can. I will say, Rich, there's been a little flutter in the mini world, but I got to ask, how is your local environment going? How is your data center in a drawer going?
It's going pretty good. It really needs to be like torn out. If I sent you a picture of it, everybody would lose all respect for me. Um, really needs to be torn out, put back together, and organized. It's really a freaking massive disaster. It's all working, but it um over the time. So I'll take a few moments here. I originally was running Plex in all the accessory apps, Plex, Radar, Sonar, and whatever else on an o-droid XU4. Actually, going back, the OG was oh gosh, what was it? A Banana Pro. Wow, I haven't had the Banana Pro powered up in forever. I forgot all about it. So originally it was running on the Banana Pro, and then I threw it on the o-droid XU4, and then I had the o-droid XU4 and the o-droid N2 running in parallel. And I didn't figure out what happened. I just figured I'd jump to a solution. Um, so Plex, all right, let me tell you what the possible problems were. I don't know if it was as updates came up, it just exposed more. It seemed to tax the hardware more. That could have been one thing as updates came out. Or it could have been that it downloaded higher quality files and it was tougher for it to stream, like, 4K 60 frames. I'm not sure what happened. And that's the problem. I mean, I guess I could look up the logs and figure it out. I never did. What I did do is I grabbed my up squared board, which is basically like a Nook. So what happens is you need memory and you need GPU to run Plex. Those ease its ability. I threw everything on the up squared board and everything's been working fine. So I hate to, I kind of have some remorse that I've left the ARM world for my Plex services, but I have. And I do got to do some straightening out. I am running two home automation assistants, and one handles the Frigate NVR. If you guys, I talked about in the prior podcast, and that's going good. I the next gen or next level on the Frigate NVR. So it's a software NVR, and that's network video recorder. I don't know why they don't call it a DVR, digital video recorder, but in security language, it's an NVR. And if you guys didn't listen, I'll try to give you the 10,000 foot view. I'm utilizing the Google Coral, which is a TPU, tensor processing unit, hardware unit, to do the AI for vehicle recognition. So it recognizes when there's a car or a person on my property. So the next level for intermediate steps. So version 1.5 is I got to tame the notifications. It was like a little kid when the sun came up in the morning. Car, car, car. It's like I gotta get it to settle down to like one notification every 5 minutes, or not notify me when it sees the same car in the same spot again. Version 2 is going to be understand whose family, and I guess the 2 plus is, hey, open the garage door, turn off the alarm, turn on the lights if it's at night when it sees family, those kinds of things. So things are all good. They're messy as hell. I need to kind of not nuke and pave, but evict and reinstall, rewire, because it's really a rat's nest. It's really sad.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with you. The problem is, it was almost like the Banana Pi Pro, where my stuff isn't failing. So I just have like a hodgepodge of things, and once it's running, it's like a router. I don't touch it, and it just seems to keep running forever. Where I really should do some reorganizing, because I have my Raspberry Pi 4 with the Ice Tower cooler. Right now, it's running my Mumble server, which is like, it's like using a tractor trailer to deliver a candy bar. It's you shouldn't be using something like that. On my
Right.
Rock 64 running my Nextcloud instance, which is pretty good. I have my o-droid XU4 just sitting here doing nothing. It could be used for something very easily. When I decide to play around, I use my NanoPi Neo for my Node Red instance just to play around, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely need to get more structured, I'll say, in my things. Just start up a spreadsheet, all of the applications I'm going to run, and then all of the hardware I got, and divvy them up correctly, and then
Right.
just do it.
Yeah, I'm absolutely underutilizing many things, and I actually, so if you guys don't know, behind my monitor, I have a 4-node ESXi cluster on Raspberry Pi, so Raspberry Pi 4s. So 4 nodes, they're running high availability, they're doing vMotion, all kinds of crazy stuff. So like if I pulled the plug on one of the Raspberry Pis, the VMs that were running on it would migrate to another one. And just cool stuff, very cool stuff. So that I'm underutilizing. I was spinning it up for another project. I also have, so I have a Intel cluster with Intel NUCs, and I have a ARM cluster with Raspberry Pis for my VMware Home Lab. And that I need to utilize more. I'm really not doing any what I would call production stuff with it. I do run Spaghetti Detective in a container on one of the in an Intel VM, and that watches when I do a 3D print. Like actually, this is kind of cool. I printed a brace for a firearm, but I used electrical conduit in the center. So instead of being 17 hours to print, it was 11 hours to print, and I was able to use it the next morning. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, Spaghetti Detective, and if you're not familiar with 3D printing, they say you print spaghetti when something goes wrong and just filament comes out, and it prints like a rat's nest of spaghetti. So Spaghetti Detective is an AI that watches for that. And it's local. You can do it cloud AI, but my paradigm, not that I'm fully adhering to it, but my paradigm is all my stuff stays on my network.
Right.
I also, if you let me bloviate a little longer, I was running Nextcloud on an ARM. I decided I was gonna go Intel with it, so that's running. I downloaded Nextcloud VM, and I think I got to increase the disk size because I'm doing a couple of things I like because I shoot videos. Actually, I shoot videos on this phone here, and what I like about it is if you put the Nextcloud client on it, when you connect to your Wi-Fi, it pulls all of your files, where I keep my videos and stills, onto my Nextcloud instance, and then it's real easy to pull it into my Mac, into iMovie, and edit, as opposed to plugging in, getting the, Android whatever thing, file transfer to run on the Mac, which can be a little wonky at times. It works. It can be just a pain getting it going. And, so I'm happy with that. So it's only almost magical, because I'll just go to my Nextcloud instance, and there will be the files that I shot earlier for a video I need to put together.
Yeah. The real quick comment I have about your Tensor Coral device, I'm having a really hard time finding information, like detailed information, like versions of chips. And the reason I say that is, if your version of Coral Tensor chip is compatible with the brand new Google Pixel 6 and Google Pixel 6 Pro, you should start to see a buttload of efficiency enhancement and just ability of workload to be done, in like any second kind of thing here in the next like year. Because
is there a TPU on the Pixels? I don't see where you're going.
Well, there's not. Here's the thing: they basically forgo like Qualcomm altogether, and they're not putting a Snapdragon chip in their phone. They're not putting a Samsung chip in their phone. They're not putting any of those people's chips in their phone. The whole phone is being driven by a Tensor chip. So the entire that's pretty bold in my opinion for them to do that. So because of that, I believe they feel incredibly confident that the ecosystem and that chip is going to be a thing that they can use for at least a year or two to come. So I do expect the people who have the USB like Tensor chips to see a lot of in improvements.
That's crazy. So realistically, that's going to be what was it in Terminator? Skynet. Skynet.
Yeah.
So that's going to be Skynet, because if there's tens or hundreds of thousands or millions of these things out there and they're all thinking, that's going to be Skynet. So your Google Pixel will end humanity and kill us all.
Well, it had to be something. And what? And
a meteorite.
Yeah. A meteorite, dinosaur, or something. And with Nextcloud, I'll say this: it's hard to run it on an ARM processor if you want to do either the Nextcloud talk, or if you really do want a high performance Nextcloud instance. The only thing I'll suggest is if you do go on x86, I do like the version of Nextcloud from Own Your Bits, because it has a fully complemented front end and a control panel back end that is really easy to do backups, migrations, federation, and things like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I haven't gotten to the video conferencing part of that, but that's one of the things I was interested in. And that's why I went Intel on a VM.
Gotcha. The other, I'll say in air quote, like big news that happened here in the mini PC world here recently was that it turns out like they have no choice in air quote, but the Raspberry Pi has to basically up their prices.
How? Oh, dude, I've been wanting more Pi 4s and 8 gig Pi 4s for different reasons, and I've been finding them like on Amazon for $150. I think that's double what I got them from like CanaKit or so.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say it's because of capitalism, but we all heard about these chip shortages going on all around the world, in air quotes. And these people ain't different. They still have chips that they need on their devices. Part of the thing is, though, the Raspberry Pi Foundation is recycling old Raspberry Pi boards to help with the new Raspberry Pi boards, number one. Number two, they've had their best selling month in the history of the Raspberry Pi Foundation. I want to say it was 6 months ago.
wow.
It was like 800,000 boards. I can tell you, every time I've looked for a Raspberry Pi in the last 4 or 5 weeks, every place it's sold out. Doesn't matter what
They're gone.
version I'm looking at. So what they're doing is they're temporarily raising the price. I want to say back up to $10 per each board, and they're introducing again the old 1 gigabyte Raspberry
Oh wow.
4 model, which I think I understand what they're trying to do. They're basically just saying, look, if you're really desperate, 1 gig is enough. Here, take your board.
Yeah,
So-
well, so there's 2 ways to control things. It's price and rationing, and so they up the price.
Well, and it's like, it's one of those things, if they can't keep them in stock and they don't raise the price, then they're just going to go crazy. And then you're going to start to have people buy them and just put them on eBay for bloated prices, which I think is what they're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
My logic is, if you really do need a Raspberry Pi, you can go to the raspberrypi.org website, click on buy, and keep revisiting those sites, those dedicated sites. And then you won't get raked over the coals. You won't pay, $115 for a Raspberry Pi kit when all you really want is a Raspberry Pi.
So the Pi 4 is 45. What's the 1 gig? Is that the 2 gig or the 1 gig is $45?
It's the 2 gig Raspberry Pi is temporarily back up to $45 from $35. And the
how much? 1 gig is 35.
1 gig is 35.
It's all right. So what's the 8 gig?
They're not even mentioning it because my guess is you ain't going to be able to get it. Also, I will say I've never seen as many Raspberry Pi 4 compute module projects where they're selling, either it is like a half done handheld gaming console where all you gotta do is put it together, or a mini NAS, or all these kinds of things being bundled up with Raspberry Pis, but they're always been compute modules. So those things are selling like hotcakes.
But all right, I don't. Who is the right customer for the compute module? Because the compute module is like 2x what a Pi costs with the same spec.
It's for people who want to do like small batch manufacturing.
Yeah, and that's, so I think you nailed that. I think I have a product, but I need the smarts of a Raspberry Pi in it. So it doesn't matter that I need a carrier board, infrastructure, whatever, and a compute module that costs twice as much as a Raspberry Pi. I don't have one to like hold up right now. I did clean my office, so there's not stuff all over. But I mean, I would be more of the, like, I wish I could pull my Pi cluster. That's the only thing that's neat, but it's behind my monitor over there, and show it to you. I would, because I'm cheap, I would almost put like a 40-pin header on a motherboard and just mount the Raspberry Pi on a motherboard as a daughter board, Because the compute module would make sense to me if you needed to build a Raspberry Pi supercomputer and you wanted those things slotted together. And all right, so I probably showed this a couple of times. I'm going to go grab it. I've got a 3D printing project, and so I have 3D printed a Mac trash can, and it's going to have 4 Raspberry Pis in it, and there's going to be 1 Ethernet connection and 1 power connection because there's a 5-port switch inside.
Let mute.
That's my cluster computing on the cheap solution. Is I just printed a Raspberry Pi or Mac trash can with 4 Pis and a 5-port switch in there. It's going to have a power brick. Oh, and there's a fan inside it also.
Very cool, very cool. I will say, I think one of the, I'm going to use these words lightly, I think one of the advantages to the Raspberry Pi Foundation to pitch the compute module is it's literally less parts to put on the board, so it should be quicker to make, easier to make, less beholden to chip shortages. So it wouldn't shock me if that's the other thing. When you buy them in bulk, I think from them, I think they're much more gracious to like fill your order.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then it makes complete sense that I want to put together a compute cluster and I want to have, a number of Raspberry Pi compute modules. Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I will say, the in air quote chip shortage is real. We're going to experience it. Everybody is experiencing it, from Elon Musk and Tesla's, GM, Ford, Chevy, Mitsubishi, Infinity, all the car manufacturers. Here's one of the gimmicks, though. I've been listening to my fair share of economic type podcasts, and the problem isn't really that there's a chip shortage. It's kind of it's very like simplistic way to say, well, there's a chip shortage, that's the problem. The actual problem is the infrastructure wants to grow up to the next version of chips, and you have the car manufacturers and other people not wanting to get off of the old model. Look, we have everything all lined up, we just want these old chips. And the old chip manufacturers basically are squeezing them because they do not want to make the old chips. They want to move forward. They want to Moore's law it and keep jumping and jumping and jumping. And you have all this infrastructure in place that wants old chips. So with that said, like the new Apple chips, the new Google chips, and new NVIDIA type things, we're going to start to see that there's not shortages on those kind of things. Instead, there are shortages on chip architecture that's 5+ years old.
So the legacy stuff, and I hate using that word legacy, but the legacy chips are what's in short supply. I can understand if you have engine management system that you've thoroughly tested and vetted and have a lot of infrastructure behind. You want to keep doing that. And I'm kind of in the you dumbass, shame on you thing, because everybody's doing just-in-time manufacturing, and they're not doing just-in-time where they're temporarily warehousing it for a day. They're just-in-time to where it's 10 to 12 minutes being delivered before it needs to be put on a machine and installed. This is just nutbag crap, and it works when you're competing against other manufacturers for efficiency. But all of a sudden, when there's a bump in the supply chain, you're hosed. You are totally hosed. I mean, that's like you having only enough sheets of toilet paper for the next bathroom visit, or having no toilet paper and hoping that the delivery gets there in time. So that little nuts. We are now seeing the bad side of that just-in-time delivery system. Whereas if you said, hey, you know what? I'm going to be building 100 million cars. All 100 million are going to have this chip. I'm going to order 100 million of these chips, and I'm going to build them, or contract for that 100 million and specify the delivery. I'm going to need 10,000 today, 10,000 tomorrow, that kind of thing. But that's not what they do.
Yeah, it's all about infrastructure being stubborn is the way I'm going to put it. So they don't expect prices or anything really to come down far anytime soon, which to me says that there is the perfect opportunity for single board computers to take their time, become more optimized with the software, to be able to run better all kinds of other things. But also, it literally opens the door wide for risk V stuff to explode. It might take a year or two, but I do see it only getting incredibly more important that the traditional chip manufacturers just do what they need to do and keep producing, or else you could lose billions of dollars.
So do you want to talk about Apple a little bit or no?
Sure, we can.
So, all right, I am, if you're watching in YouTube land, this is on my 2012 MacBook Pro Retina 15-inch. First off, I didn't get that they went 14 and 16, but the 14-inch apparently has the same screen size as my 15-inch. So that's good because I'm old and I don't want to carry around a 16-inch, but a 14 is okay, 15 is better. The 16, I'm not so sure I'd want to go that big, just for weight and all that bit. I did spec out their 14 with 1 terabyte of disk space, 64 gigs of RAM, and like the top CPU. It's $3,600. Now, this computer's carried me 8 years, 9 years. Over 9 years, I think the $2,200 or $2,400 I paid for this was okay. Apple will allow you to pay it off in monthly payments at 0% interest rate for 12 months. So it's like $300 a month. So for me, that was like a car payment back in the day. But I don't know. Things are changing for me personally and as an employment. And I'm going back to consulting, and so there's going to be more money coming in. So I may consider jumping on the Apple bandwagon that I've sworn many times, call me a hypocrite, I will never buy another Mac. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, maybe.
Yeah, I think they figured out a couple things. One, it's always more efficient to own the complete stack, including the processor, where they went Intel for a while, and I think they really did learn they had to pay the Intel tax, which is money out of their pocket, number one. Number two, they then have to write their software around other people's specification, which isn't good for them as a hardware company. We saw a lot of creative types just abandon Apple once they went Intel, and a lot of people went to Windows Adobe solutions. I do believe that they figured out we're not going to get people to buy a laptop every year or two or even three. So I think that's why they're literally charging into the thousands of dollars for these things, because people do, I think, expect to buy one and hold on to it for a minimum of like 5 years, like their entire college career kind of thing.
Yeah, couple of things. So I agree with what you said. The other point is Apple now is a single hardware company. It's the same chip in their phone, in their iPad, in their MacBook Pro, in the Mac Pro. Every piece of hardware has the same family chip in it. And that's something that Brian Tong, boy, what was the podcast I used to listen to? Oh, gosh. Buzz Out Loud. So Brian Tong on Buzz Out Loud 10 years ago said they're all going to be going to the same processor. They're all going to be going to an ARM-derived processor. Like, you're out of your mind. You know, desktops are never going to go there. Laptops are never... He was right. You know, I'm sure he had industry news because I'm sure that's how long they've been working on this stuff. But I'm completely right. I kind of have a little bone to pick about what you said with Intel. I think going to Intel when they did was a smart move. I think it was the right move at the right time. You know, now they're moving away from Intel. And
Well, I do agree it was the right move at the right time, but as soon as it happened, the clock was ticking to where they're going to have to get off Intel. The only question is when. And I do think their timing on this was just as good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're timing these things right. I do like, you know, I've been quipping. I've got 32 gigs of RAM in my 2012, and they haven't really come out with any RAM upgrades. And, you know, they did bring back, I was a little shocked. They brought back MagSafe. They brought back SD card slot. They brought back the HDMI port. So there's a lot, and I think there's 2 USB-C ports. So there's a lot that came back to it. Now, my 2012 here, I have, I think, 2 USB-C, HDMI, 2 Thunderbolt, I guess, with digital video. Oh, headset and the MagSafe. So almost, other than the two USB-Cs, I'm assuming are like 3.2 or 3.3. You can do video over them. That they're like a Thunderbolt or whatever they call the port now. That you can do video output on. So that's pretty cool. I haven't, like I said, I haven't researched it, but they got rid of that touch bar. They have keys again. So
Touch bar was
there's
so stupid. That touch bar was so dumb.
Yes, I hated that idea because when I was looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying that. I could have bought a new one. I had the money to buy a new one. I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying that. That's not happening. So in a way, I saw somebody comment on it that they patted their back too much for bringing back stuff they killed. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but happy to have it back. I do like the stuff, and I'm pretty jazzed.
Gotcha. Well, I'll say we can go completely opposite. Line 568 in the notes. If you are somebody that really wants to try the super ultra light browser-based operating system, Chrome OS, but you want to try it on a Raspberry Pi, I want to say it's called Fide. It offers a downloadable solution over there on aboutchromebooks.com. They have a really good write-up. They even reference the video on explainingcomputers.com, showing you how it works and how everything runs on it. And I will say this, I did download it, put it on an SD card. It ran surprisingly good is what I'm going to say. I do believe they have a paid version where you can pay them. I want to say it was like $30 a year. And basically they can back up your account online and then you can access it on multiple devices, blah, 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 blah. But I'll say this, it's remarkably smooth for free. If you want just a browser-based operating system on a Raspberry Pi and you just want that and nothing else, I think this is a really good choice. It's at fydeos.io. And if you go to the website, I will tell you, it is one of the more interactive, dynamic examples of how to do websites. It is surprisingly smooth, while at the same time you're looking at it, you're like, what is going on here? And then it says like FideOS is and then you say trustworthy, clean, cloud-based, never BSOD, smart, always up to date, customizable, brilliant, of course, brilliant system. And then you keep scrolling down, and it's a very dynamic web page. This is the kind of web page, if I was doing web page, I would want my web page to look like this and act like this, to where it's more like a presentation instead of just static text kind of thing. So if you just want a browser, aka you have a family member, you're tired of them getting infected, you're tired of having to go fix their stuff because they keep doing wrong things in their computer, literally you might be able to get like a Pi 400, the keyboard, Raspberry Pi all in one.
Oh, cool.
Load this thing up on it, plug it up to their monitor, and I think you have an actual pretty good usable solution to run a safer operating system.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and I did look at their paid thing, and it's the kind of thing, I mean, okay, this is what I'll say. I give Wikimedia about $30 every year. I give archive.org, I try to give them around $50 a year. Mozilla, nobody gives them money. Well, I pay for their VPN $5 a month, and every year I try to give them like 20 or $30. The logic is because nobody else is going to give them money. If you use this FideOS and you like it and you think you're going to use it for a while, I would definitely consider doing the membership thing just to make sure that they know I like this. Please keep making it. Otherwise, I don't see a good reason to pay the money.
Well, that looks really cool. Now, I wonder if I could run it as a VM in my ARM ESXi cluster.
I'll say I can't see a reason why not. And I did remember seeing, and I can't remember off the top of my head, where there was a solution you could run on x86 computers where you could virtualize a Raspberry Pi. It was for development work. So you could develop Raspberry Pi stuff in an air quote native environment in a much faster experience, where I was able to load a couple different Raspberry Pi type OSs up in it, and it ran like surprisingly well. And then let's go on the complete opposite spectrum of things and online 569. This was something that I actually saw. I want to say it was thanks to ETA Prime on the YouTubes. And what this is a very basically hollow laptop. Okay. It's a laptop that is just a laptop, a touchpad, and a screen where you basically open it up. I'm sorry, you slide in your Pi 400, the keyboard combination Raspberry Pi. So it's a shell that you slide in your Raspberry Pi into the middle of it, and there's no speakers. It gives you a touchpad. It gives you a screen, and it has like a little bit of connectivity. It has like, I want to say like one extra port on it, not much. And all of the Raspberry Pi 400 native ports are available on the back side of it. So it really is a hollow shell with no speakers, no muscle, no like computing things going on whatsoever. And it's $239.
Okay, now how much is the Pi 400 to slide in there?
I want to say it was only $70 when it was brand new.
So you're into $300. How big is the display?
I want to say it was 13-inch. 13.3 inch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you got a 1080p display, 13-inch for $300. Yow! I mean, you could buy a good Chromebook, like a 15-inch Chromebook for that.
You could buy like not even a C grade or a D grade. You could buy like a B grade Chromebook, almost like the really good kind of Chromebook for that price. So you're literally, because the normal price for the Raspberry Pi 400 keyboard Raspberry Pi all-in-one is $70. So to get this, you have to pay $70 plus $230. That's $300 plus. And you don't have speakers. You don't have a lot of other things. Like there's no internal hard drive. There's no extra dock. There's no space. There's no other things. So this is the kind of thing that I don't know who would buy, except for someone with too much money, number one. But I would hope people with too much money would just buy a whole bunch of these things. So maybe the next version of them, they can add speakers. They can add space for an NVMe and other things, and bring the price down to like, $130.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought it's a really good design. It really looks like a good fit and finish. It seems like a really smart idea with complete astronomical pricing.
Yeah, and I like these ideas, but the price should be one of the things that they think about.
I absolutely cannot argue at all.
Door, you're driving. Where do you want to go next?
I do like line 571 in the notes. I've been like looking at like super what I think of as being hyper compact computers. And they really do, industrial grade, corporate wise, keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. This is a HP Elite Desk 800 G6 Mini 65 watt TMM, more power is what it's called. This is literally the size of like a small paperback. And it is a Elite desk. Elite stuff in air quotes is the HP enterprise grade components. None of these are cheap. None of these are plasticky. None of these are like, generic kind of things. They're all definitely higher end computers, but it is super tiny, super compact. This is the kind of hardware I love. I just think it's really sexy. And it's the kind of hardware where I don't even want to look at the price because I'm not buying it because it has the word elite in it from HP.
Yep.
I'm sure it's like easily $1,000.
Ding, 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 ding. 905.
905.
Before
Well, that's
tax. i5, 16 gigs of RAM, 256 gig and NVMe.
I'll say for that price, it's not bad because I mean, keep scrolling down and look at all the I/O on the back of that thing. It is insane how much I/O they pack on this device. It literally looks like it has 5 video outputs, 3 display port, 1 mini HDMI, 1 full size HDMI. Then they have, it looks like 3 or 4 USBs, 1 Ethernet, and then a couple more full size DVIs.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the ports on the back are Lenovo-esque in sexiness because they have everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if I was doing like a small upstart company and I needed my office staff to have good, powerful computers, but I insisted on them being small and quieter, I would have to look at this as being the option.
Okay, so Chatter on the Wire's out there. I want to say hi to Chatter on the Wire and John Hullinger. I've gotten the Wise earbuds or pods, whatever, Wise Pro. I haven't figured out how the tap stuff works. I do like them. They do fall out of my ears. I did get a Note 20 Ultra, and it doesn't have a headphone jack on it, so that's why I got a wireless solution. So I'm still getting used to them. And just want to say hi to John Hollinger.
Yeah, very good to see you, John. Hope everything's going well with you. The other thing I just wanted to mention, just because there was some changes out there, the Raspberry Pi Foundation changed their website up. If you had bookmarks for the Raspberry Pi, when it came to documentation for things, you might want to go and make sure that you research and you re-download. Now, raspberrypi.com/documentation seems like where there's a fair amount of their documentation on how their stuff works. I will say, looking at it, it does look like it's really clean. And sorry, Rich, that's 570 in the notes. It does look like a very, very ultra clean website. It should be very easy to like comprehend, grasp everything, see what all your options are. Like when you load up a Raspberry Pi -config is the option I put in the notes. Which to me is one of the first tools you should open up after you load almost any Raspbian based system.
Yep, I fully agree with you. For the most part, I run near zero Raspbian. Other than like under Home Automation Assistant, it's the underlying OS, but that's about it, and it's headless.
Yeah, on mine, I want to say my Twister OS is Raspbian based, and that's like the only one that I run currently that has that tool in it. But I will say, Twister OS has Raspberry config in it. It has PyKiss, which is kind of like it's like a package manager just for Pi things. And then it also has on it Pi-Web, which is a whole bunch of web apps that you can run as if they were locally installed applications. So I thought that was pretty cool. And talking about running web applications as if they were local applications, Rich, line 575. Long and short of it, this is the future of a lot of stuff. The future of Visual Studio as a development platform is it's going to be all web-based, where it's going to be much easier for Microsoft to control what version you have. It's also going to be much easier for them to manage subscriptions to it and make sure that everyone is, in air quotes, paying their fair dues to use Visual Studio. It's super easy right now. Anyone can go to https://vscode.dev, depending on the computer. Wait a second or two, and what you see in a matter of seconds is a full-fledged 100% Visual Studio code designer running in your browser, and it does have the ability to sync to local cache and actually have extensions loaded at the same time. It is, I mean, we all thought about this, I want to say like 10 years ago, where the future of the computer is the browser. Well, I think it's finally actually, we're now broaching that. We're to have locally installed applications are going to be really the exception. We're like, my logic is you're going to only install something locally when it needs like direct access to some hardware kind of thing.
Yep. Well, that's the whole phone thing. I'm like, I've got a phone that's 10 times more powerful than a computer I had, 8 years ago. Let me just run everything in the browser. I get annoyed when it's like, oh, install our app. I'm like, why? So you can track my location and sell the data? Seriously, if it's not using hardware on the damn phone, I don't want to use an installed app. I'm very much so that way about the phone. Keep your crapware off my phone.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. I will say it goes both ways. You might not want all of your eggs in one basket, but at the same token, you don't want one egg in a basket and then have 10,000 baskets. You know what I mean? There's some middle ground there where I think happiness can reside. What I'm hoping is these kinds of web apps will not only become more popular, more powerful, more efficient, more dynamic, more customizable, more easy to do, but also have them much easier to be self-hostable on your own network. That to me is the real holy grail.
Well, and I'll tell you, I did something recently. So flyingrich.com is a train wreck, and code's broken and barely running. The contact page works, but it's supposed to be a social media wall, but all the social media has changed and it doesn't interface properly. I have a new tool that's PHP, and I had a beta of it up and running in a subdirectory on flyingrich.com. But what I was having issues with it. I'm like, all right, let me cut out the middleman on a Diet Pi. So it's actually running on the Rock Pro 64. With Diet Pi, I said, hey, install LampStack. I got a LampStack running in a couple of minutes. Walked away, got a cup of coffee, came back, threw up this code, this PHP code. It's a LAMPP, PHP, Python, whatever. Threw this Python code on, got it running and configured. I'm like, all right, I know it runs and works right. And I'm very happy with how it runs locally. I just got to deploy it to the web once they update the Python interpreter. Anyhow, so very cool things that you can do with a Pi and Diet Pi.
Yeah, I will say, sorry.
Go.
I was just to say, I've only played with Python in the local desktop macro environment. And to the layman, what I mean is I want to say it's called auto key. Might be called auto it, sorry. Where I basically can have my computer like systematically do the same thing over and over and over again. Like open up this application, okay, then copy this first line, alt tab to this other application and paste part of it, edit it, go back to the first application, go down a line, copy, go back to the other app and go down and automate sort of like text manipulation kind of thing, automate certain things. So I'm a huge fan of Python, partially because you can read it and you don't need to have any real experience reading it, and it just makes sense.
Yep. All right, so you've been clicking around. I've been waiting for you to click on line 570.
Well, this is the kind of thing where I was honestly a little bit confused by it at first. We all know that we want super cheap, efficient hardware in our environment. I would love to be able to walk in my door and touch a little sensor, and it knows Door Geek is here, and I don't have to wear anything RFID. I don't have to wear any like specific tags. I don't have to do any weird voodoo with my phone with Bluetooth. Blah 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 blah. I love the idea of being able to have what I believe when I looked at this, it was like a $6 fingerprint sensor, NFC enabled kind of thing, super small, super compact, super flexible too. From what I looked at, this is the kind of thing where I think if Brett caught wind of it in the wrong way, he would order like 20 of these things. Yeah, it's a crowdfunding thing, so it might not come to fruition. But if this is the kind, if you want a fully programmable, small, I mean, this thing's really small form factor, 8x8mm fingerprint sensor that you can completely customize, connect to almost any other kind of thing, and have it work. It's based upon the ESP32 based fingerprint sensor. I would definitely encourage you to check this thing out. And it might be the kind of thing where you might look at it and decide, okay, I actually need like 10 of these, not just one. If there's ever a time to gamble with this kind of thing, I would say it's now, because the ESP32 community is the kind of community that goes absolutely nuts with this kind of thing.
Oh, heck yeah. So pretty cool. So I must have called out the wrong line, because what I was going for was the home, that I was interested in, that was the home assistant tags.
Well, I mean, I don't run Home Assistant at any place, so I just tagged this and I didn't look too much at it. But the impression I got was this could be your kind of own personal wearable RFID kind of thing, to when, like, Bill Gates's multi-billion-dollar house he used to have to wear a thing on his chest, and when you walked into one room, all the lights in the previous room would turn off, and all the lights in this new room would turn on, and his music would transfer over, kind of thing.
Yeah, the music would follow you. Yeah.
Right. Where I'm sure that cost tens of thousands of dollars. Well, now,
Right.
You can get Home Assistant tags, which I'm sure are incredibly cheap and probably work just as good.
I'm still scrolling around looking for the price.
Yeah, I didn't see a price like jump out at me, which kind of shocked me. It could be around the hardware. For costing a single one could be around $30.
Yeah, that's a little up. Although my daughter just got one of those air tags, and it's funny. If I look for how an air tag works, I'm talking about protocol, frequency, range, and all that bit. I stumbled upon a YouTube video where they told me how it worked, meaning what you physically do with it as somebody that doesn't know technology. And so if you threw an air tag in a bottle and threw it in the ocean, you wouldn't get position reporting on it. It does rely on Bluetooth of Apple devices. So if somebody swims by it with their phone and there's a cell tower nearby, you'll get a position report. So anybody with, Apple Bluetooth on, walking by an AirTag, it's kind of like the Amazon Sidewalk, which we talked about in a prior show. So same kind of concept. It just gives, like, I'm sure it's UUID and GPS coordinates, and that's the data, and maybe battery life or something like that. But that's how the AirTags work. So kind of cool. I don't know how these. It looks like you need a reader and all that bit. So not exactly as cool, but same price.
Right. Yeah. With the Apple thing, I'm 90% sure the device itself is incredibly stupid. All it does is it tells its own Bluetooth ID. And then the Apple device says, hey, I see this Bluetooth ID. Hi, Bluetooth ID. and then it transmits back to home base, supposedly anonymously from itself. Look, I see this Bluetooth ID, and then it uses your GPS, your location thing, and saying, I see it here, but supposedly none of your information goes back with it. So if you're a Mac house in a Mac ecosystem, hypothetically in New York City, you'll be able to find nearly anything, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. I'll talk one more up, and it's only because, back when we first started this show, one of the topics that kept coming up was a topic that then turned into the term digital signage. And what digital signage is the ability to take a Raspberry Pi, connect it to a power source, connect it to a video source, put in your SD card, point it to a folder, and have it just continuously revolve through this short video, this picture, this picture, this short video, this picture, and just keep going forever. Really popular at doctor's offices, really popular at some restaurants, really popular at places where you just need a screen to cycle through the same thing over and over and over again. I'm really deathly shocked this took this long. 571, Ubuntu decided to make something up they call Ubuntu Frame. And when you think about digital signage, what goes around the air, a digital picture frame kind of thing, it's a frame kind of thing. So Ubuntu is getting into the Internet of Things officially by making a digital signage based distro. What I'll say is good on them expanding, good for IoT kind of thing to get someone like Canonical on board officially saying this is a real thing. Which hopefully then with updates to the base operating system, it will keep working for a long time. Ubuntu distributions, long-term support, you can go 5 years. So hypothetically, you could put this up in a store and for 5 years, keep getting security updates and not have to worry about anything else and having it just keep working. I'm just shocked it took like a big player this long to do this kind of thing.
Okay, so the article doesn't specify Raspberry Pi, but we all know you get Ubuntu on a Raspberry Pi, and if it runs on one thing on Ubuntu, it runs on everything.
Yeah, that to me is the real big kicker. So you could put it on a x86 board with 10 video outs, have running 10 different video things, doing 10 different digital signages, or you can run it on a Raspberry Pi Zero, doing just one digital sign. So yeah,
that's pretty cool, though. I may give that a try. I don't know.
Well, and it is, I think, one of the first digital signage dedicated operating systems that explicitly supports Wayland protocol. Long and the short of it, Wayland is in air quotes the future of displaying graphical things on Linux. Xorg is eventually on its way out, kind of thing. So for it to support Wayland, thus further supports the idea that you could put this in a environment and just leave it there for years and let it do its updates, and it should keep working.
So are you saying I can hack the video displays at a McDonald's?
Sure, why not? Did you hear about the kid in, I want to say, was it Georgia? The kid graduated high school last year, but this year, because of last year, COVID and everything, this year he decided to do his senior prank where he took every projector and every screen in every school in the county and had at 11:35 the screens roll down and it say important announcement in 5 minutes, and it just kept counting down, and if the teachers tried to roll it up or turn it off, it kept turning itself back on and rolling back down, and after 5 minutes it played Rick Ashley, I'm Never Going to Give You Up.
Rickroll.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then later in the day, instead of playing the bell sound, he played the song again. And because it's 2021, he didn't end up in jail. I don't know.
I was going to say, did he get expelled?
No, he actually already graduated, but he basically documented everything on how he did it. So he basically presented it back to the school saying, here was all the loopholes, here was all the holes, here's how you fix it.
Cool. Kind of white hat hackery.
And I'm really happy the school was at least smart enough to say thank you for helping us make it better instead of, going crazy.
Yep. So what is pre-search?
Pre-search is the email we got from Joshua Dennis last episode.
Oh.
Pre-search is the way that you can have your own personal node in a search engine ecosystem where you don't have to worry about Bing, you don't have to worry about Google or other things. And I believe this was the one that also can help build cryptocurrency credits at the same time.
Okay, yeah, I read the mail, didn't understand it, didn't go back to it. But okay, this is cool.
Well, and this is the kind of thing where you have to be like into it in order to like get it, because this is the kind of web page where it doesn't look like they explain everything just outright. They just give you like little examples, because like in like 3 paragraphs in, it says, if the US government forced Amazon to not allow any sort of cryptocurrency node on top of it, many blockchains would be in trouble. Many of the pre-search nodes will be perfectly fine. So they're like hinting to you that there's like some blockchain cryptocurrency thing going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want like your own private node for searching, it's really easy to do. Get a Raspberry Pi, steal one because you apparently can't buy one anymore, and you can install pre-search.
I'm gonna check that out at least.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was cool. I opened it up, I loaded it, and then I turned it back off. Too many things going on at once is what I'll say. Oh, and Chatter did put the link in our YouTube notes to how I hacked a school. Very cool. Thank you, Chatter.
Oh, hey man, thanks.
Okay, I think we've been going for almost just over an hour, maybe. So I'll say, Rich, if people want to see what kind of 3D things you're printing, or talk to listen to your general chatter, what's the best place to go to?
So I typically most prolific on Instagram, so flyingrich_official, or go to flyingrich.com. You'll get links to all of my social media, or on YouTube's youtube.com/flyingrich. No space, not flying with rich, flying rich.
Well, supposedly Facebook is changing their name and people are like freaking out. I'm pretty sure it's going to be like Google, how Google, in air quote, changed their name to Alphabet.
Yeah.
But really all it was showing the umbrella company versus smaller company. So I'm pretty sure Facebook is going to still be Facebook, and they're going to take Facebook, Oculus, WhatsApp, Instagram, and just put it under a different title, which I agree they should. It makes sense. So I want to thank Chatter, Swift, John, Red, everybody for coming out to the live chat. Again, it's super easy to know when we go live if you follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Discord, or ask me to send you an email. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't say that, but yeah, you could. Or you can follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/the-mini-PC-show. Super easy way to show support to us. And at the same time, you are guaranteed to get notices before we go live in there. If you'd like to send us an email, it's also super easy. It's minipc@podnutz.com. Links are all in the notes. And I do think we actually did miss an email or two, which just means we have something to talk about the next time that we hang, Rich. The Discord info should be right below the YouTube video in the chat, above the chat section, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Discord link. It's right there beneath email. I want to thank everyone for coming out. Thank everyone for hanging out. I will talk to everyone again real soon. Hopefully, Rich will be online here very shortly.
Yep. Cool.
Take it easy, my man. Yeah, we are still streaming live, Rich, and I have to run to the little boy's room.
Alrighty, I'll hang out a few minutes.
I blame the monster.
Yep. I could show you guys what I've done, but I'd get thrown off of the stream would end abruptly if I held up what I've been working on. You could look at one of my recent YouTube videos, though. And I'm logging into the Podnutz Discord.
Oh. Okay. I'm up to over 180, I think, podcast feeds. Actually, I got rid of a whole bunch of what I call. I unsubscribed to what I classify as Psychocast, where they're just completely out of it. So now I'm down to 169 podcast. Hey, Richard, are you ready for this?
What's that?
I had the surgery, right?
Okay, yeah.
So from here to my pinkies, there's no more tingling, there's no more fire, no more electricity going there. But I've now had like 4 people go like feel, and then they feel hot. Like right down here.
Really?
And then it's like it hurts, is what I want to say.
Huh.
It's right here. And it literally feels warm. So I'm literally tempted to buy like a super cheap infrared camera just to like get pictures to see if am I crazy?
Are you just feeling it, or is it real?
Right. Before I go back to the doctor and say, I think there's something else you need to do. Gotcha. But yeah,
well, it's funny. I had so I injured my left knee in the first plane crash, and I started getting, like, if I kneeled on that knee, I started getting pain in it, and it was pretty sharp.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, all right, whatever, plane crash, I got pain in the knee now. That happens. Then it started in my right knee. And then it's, this is maybe months. Then it started going away on my left knee, and it's almost gone on my left knee, and it's nearly gone in my right knee. I'm like, what the heck?
Well, I mean, with anything like shoulder, elbow, wrist, hip, knee, ankle, anything related on them, when one starts to hurt, you always overcompensate with the other, and then the other one starts to hurt. Always. It happens to me so many times.
Yeah, but it was just kneeling.
Well, maybe you have a partially torn meniscus.
I don't think I did anything physical. I'm bad at that also. Like, I'll do something to injure myself, not realize it.
Right. Let me see if that just worked. They said we had poor video quality, so I want to see if this will work. See, I don't know. I definitely more zoomed in, I'll tell you that. But yeah, I was pushing a 3,000-pound tag bin where people take their old license plates.
Yeah.
Tag bin. I was pushing that on a rainy day on a loading dock onto the back of a truck where it had the steel aluminum gate to get on the truck, and I slipped, landed right on my left knee. Ever since then, there's always like 2 weeks out of the year where my left knee is just, I can't bend it, and it just hurts like hell. Especially if I try to like kneel down. Oh no, it ain't happening. It ain't happening at all.
Everybody, let me get going. Somebody's been trying to reach me.
All right, man. Thanks for hanging out, Rich.
Alrighty, take care.
Okay, so I'm going to try to edit this without completely forgetting and messing up my stream kind of thing. Hey, Charles, good to see you, man. Oh, that Pi KVM, I'm going to tell you right now, that does sound awesome. I'm not going to lie. I did some more looking into it. And if it was the kind of thing I think I could use, oh, I would have jumped on that. Absolutely. Sciatic nerve, Red, that is not good, man. I know like 3 people that have sciatic problem. It's the kind of thing, years, it seems like years it hurts. There's not much you can do about it. Oh, I'm doing a lot better, John. Let me tell you something. Between you and me, the pain that I was feeling for 18 months drove me to make some really bad decisions, is the way I'll put it. It made me do stupid things, think stupid things. I was really short with my wife and kids because of the pain, is my excuse kind of thing. So since then, it's gotten so much better. And I really don't like how far this camera is zoomed in. It's creepy almost. So let me come back here, remove that link, copy the link, come back here and do this. So when I said I wanted a higher quality, it didn't give me a higher quality. It just zoomed in, which doesn't make any sense. You would think, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know. The Mac Geek. Hey, man, good to see you, man. So here's what I keep I'm going to say this out loud. So all you guys coming out like this tells me that I really should just stream more often to stream. I keep thinking I want to stream, and then when I stop and think about I'm going to just come down here and stream, I keep thinking, who in the hell would want to just see me stream? You know, dare I say it's a self-confidence thing. Yeah, 150, right? Yeah. Audio, raw, convert. 126, I should be correct. Okay, now let's get some comfort love. Okay, yep, like this and say selected. Copy. Do this the old-fashioned way because it works. Public audio raw. Yeah, I will say I do think I am going to have to go back to the, I'm going to say, the joint doctor, the orthopedist. I think I'm going to have to go back to the orthopedist about my neck, though. I'm being very slow and methodical about making that choice because that's not something, they made it very clear. You don't lightly say, I think I need neck surgery. So, like, they asked me, like, wait. Yeah, it's been 3 months. No, it's been almost 3 months, but I want to wait a little bit more, see if I am right, see if I'm wrong. Oh. Well, there's a lot of DSLRs that will only let you do webcam for, I want to say it was 28 minutes at a time until you get to like the $800+ webcams. Thank you, the Mac Geek. Yeah, I'll say the problem with webcams is they haven't updated them in 6 years, and this webcam is, I want to say, technically 8 years old, and it's still almost $100 on eBay, which is ridiculous. There's no way it should be that expensive. Yeah, exactly, Red. Oh. Yeah, I will say the couple guys I know who use DSLRs, they do them in more of a pre-production phase where they record it on the DSLR and then upload it to a computer, and it gives them insane quality video. I don't want to say to do live streaming, you really don't need high quality video. You just need video that's in air quotes good enough. I will say the audio is where it matters. You have bad audio and you're streaming, oh man, people will turn you off really quick. Yeah, the number one thing that makes me unsubscribe to a podcast is either like incredibly inconsistent audio quality, which just means that it's obvious they don't listen to their own podcast, or just incredibly bad audio quality with like no attempt at cleaning up kind of thing. And I will say I have contacted more than a couple podcasts in the last like 10 years offering to show them how to clean up their audio. 90% of them, I don't even get a reply back. And the ones that I have gotten a reply back, it's like, well, if you don't like it, don't listen. Oh, okay. Okay, compressing first file. Yeah, the Elgato makes nice stuff, period. I'll say that. No matter what you buy from them, you're always assured it's going to be a good quality stuff. Okay, export. OG. Incoming. Good. Yep. Yeah, I will say I do think my HDMI capture went boom, and it made me mad because this was literally $290, I want to say. And I plug in the USB, it lights up. I plug in, I don't even have to plug in anything on the HDMI side, and I go into the computer and it says basically like no hardware found, which makes me mad because that was literally like $270 and I only used it a couple times. Okay, still compressing, which is okay. Shure SM58. It is so hard to go wrong with a Shure SM58. It is the tried and true, beat the living crap out of it microphone, and it will work just as good as it worked on day one. The people that don't like it because it's a non-powered dynamic phantom powered mic, which means you have to have your other device boosting the signal, and some people hate that, think it's bad. I think it's great because then if you come over here and talk, there's other sounds like a cat or a dog, you just don't hear it, and that's what I love about these mics. Is it have, well, I don't need anything 4K support. I don't even have 4K monitors. But all I care, and the only reason I got this Magwell, was because supposedly all the drivers were in the Linux kernel. My USB audio interface, I bought it because all the drivers are in the Linux kernel. This Logitech C910, I believe it is, all the drivers are in the kernel, which means there's supposed to be no fuss, no hassle, no nothing. Everything just works. I don't know if I've ever heard of Intensity Pro. $100 ain't bad, I'll say that. I don't want Linux drivers, dude. No. Linux drivers means sooner or later they're not going to offer Linux drivers. I want it in the Linux kernel, period. If it's not in the Linux kernel, I don't buy it. Because I know if it's in the Linux kernel, I don't have to do anything. It just works. Somebody brain dead can work it and it still works. Okay. First file compressed. Second file loading up. A CAD U1 microphone. I can't say I know what that is. Well, I tell you, my normal go-to mic, Swift, is only, I want to say, $35 on sale, typically like $40. This mic was given to me by Joe Heck, which is, I want to say it's $125 on sale microphone. Heil PR22, I believe is what it's called. But a CAD U1 microphone. Let me see. CAD U1 mic. CAD U1 mic, USB, dynamic, good call. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Yeah, the only thing I would say looking at it on Amazon, I'd be hesitant to use the stand that comes with, only because the stand has to be close to your mouth, which has to be close to your hands, which means if you're typing, it'll be easier for it to come through the microphone. But yeah, $17, great price as far as I'm concerned. Great price. Then all you need is a USB interface to jack the audio up, and it should be good. Oh man. Gotcha, Charles. Okay, so that was actually quick. So export. We're already in the right folder. Oh man. So yeah, I'm definitely considering taking off a whole week of work here soon, since they're trying to tell me for 6 weeks I won't be able to take any leave, which is not cool. Not cool at all. But there's a lot of important things going on, so I guess I understand where they're coming from. Kind of thing. I'm just happy it's not me. Yeah, I'm thinking next week. I honestly, I have to finish this week out. There's a couple of things I have to get off my plate. Because I like tonight alone, I had to log off, then log back in at like 5:45 in the afternoon and check on some things, because apparently, there's the kind of thing where if it keeps not working, we might be on the local nightly news, and we don't want that. My whole goal, as soon as I started becoming a state employee, is let me not do things that will put us in the nightly news. And while I'm at it, let's try to prevent other things from happening to where we're on the nightly news. Yeah, Swift, you hit the nail on the head. My whole thing is I'm really hoping 2022 is the year of the trip, where I want to try to go to at least 3 conferences. And I will say, Tim Bauermeister, Tim, from the Unbootables and stuff like that, he pinged me and he said he would like to do, oh man, I can't remember what the word is, a trek, where basically I get as many people as I can get, he gets as many people as he can get, and we basically take a trip to the grave of Eric Ardini and just, say bye to him one last time, kind of thing. And he was talking about wanting to do that early next year, and it's 2 hours west of Chicago, I believe, is where he's buried. And yeah, I'll say between us, I'm still not over that. Just because he was such an awesome guy. Not patronage, not, oh man, I can't remember what they called it now. Like a religious thing where people go on a trek. Because Tim's a little bit religious, is what I'm going to say. Well, let me rephrase that. Damn, sorry, I muted again. The one thing I'll say, COVID taught me was, in public places, I have the uncanny ability to hold in a cough or a sneeze for like an hour and not blink an eye about it. Because I do not want to be the guy out in public to cough or sneeze and everyone to look at like, oh, he's the guy. He's the guy who's going to get everybody sick. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy. Okay. Okay, this is actually looking really good. So let me come here. Test this audio level. Say play. Wow. These volume levels seem fantastic. Oh, and I did get, I don't know if you guys saw it, one complaint on our YouTube stream, and it was when Brett was on. It was about his audio level, and I don't think that his audio level was low. I think it's that his audio was inconsistent to where it would go up and it would go down and it would go up. I think that's what it might have been. So the next time I'm going to hang with Brett, I'm going to try to see if we can get his stuff all tightened up and figured out. Yeah, that's what I thought, John. I thought you were like maybe like 30 minutes away from Chicago. Pilgrimage. Thank you, the Mac Geek. You're the man. Pilgrimage, yes. Tim Bauermeister wants to make a pilgrimage to where we organize, where we get as many people as we can to basically meet there, and just make an event out of it, kind of thing. And I'm very much in favor of doing that, is what I'm going to say. But it's the kind of thing I want to take my time and do it right. Also, the Podnutz anniversary is coming up at the end of February. I want to say it's might be our 16th year. I can't remember the number. It's where I want to do a special live stream for that, and that's where I would like to announce these kinds of things, going to events, trying to plan out events, and planning out pilgrimage. I'm going to keep saying that word pilgrimage so I don't forget it. So we can try to plan these things out to try to actually do them right. I will say Podnutz has a fair amount of people from Chicago, Detroit, Toronto, Ohio. There's that like diamond where there is actually a lot of Podnutz people. There's more than a couple people up north of New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Maine, and then we have more than a couple people now right outside Orlando. There's like 5 people. Texas, there's a couple, but Texas is huge, so I don't count Texas. Sorry. And then Northwest, we got like another 5 to 10 people kind of thing. So my logic is I would like to go once in 2022, somewhere around Chicago, Detroit, Toronto, Ohio, someplace near the middle of that. One time up by Cambridge, Boston area. One time down in Orlando area, and then one time over by Portland or Seattle area, kind of thing. It's just a question of like timing it all and doing it. Yeah, don't cough. Yeah, Red, I know you are like right there, by Notre Dame, wasn't it? I think Notre Dame, yeah. One of my podcasts I listen to, if you've ever heard of the Vlog brothers, Hank and John Green, their podcast, Hank and John and Hank, whatever it's called. One of the persons wrote in and said that their doctor told them when he was talking about sneezing, and the doctor said, well, how many times do you sneeze? And he was like, well, maybe 2 or 3 times a month. And the doctor's like, well, that's too much. And for like 3 or 4 episodes, they were obsessing about, what do you mean it's too many times to sneeze like 2 or 3 times a month? Does this doctor never sneeze? What's wrong with this doctor? But I tell you, this is like the time of the season where me and my oldest son suffer from allergies, to where I sit here when I work from home, even with windows open and stuff, at least 4 or 5 times a day, just sneeze. And it's like the kind of sneeze that almost hurts. It's so much of a sneeze. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, that, and I want to say there's the other, what's it called? Condition, where quite literally, if you have this condition, you walk out your door, and if the sun is in front of you, you sneeze. And for years, people thought it was a joke, that it wasn't a real condition. It was just people like over exaggerating about stuff. And I want to say maybe in like the last 2 or 3 years, they found out, oh no, that's a real thing that some people suffer from whenever they get hit by like a lot of sunlight right in their face, they sneeze. I thought that was nuts. Analog video capture as well. My lord, well, that ain't 4K. Man, I gotta fix this audio. Okay, so one person's really loud, probably me. One person's not, it's probably Rich. No, Rich is super loud. And I'm not. Damn it, completely backwards. Okay, so Rich is too loud. Yeah, so let's see if I can make this explode, or let's see if it does it right. So let me come over here. Okay, look at that. So now if I say, the last time I tried this, it definitely broke. Toggle the chat. Did not disable the camera. Create a secondary stream? Yeah. Share. Okay. Oh, wow, that actually worked. Okay. Yeah. So when everyone's loud, but one person is too loud, it's very easy to see this guy right here is too loud, and this guy here is not loud enough. In reality, when I listen to it, it's really hard for me to tell. They both sounded really loud. So now I got to go back, re-edit the audio, which isn't really hard. Just come here, Q Tractor, open recent. It's already here. Let me do this. Let me close this down. I do not want to save. I want to get rid of that. Okay, now it's just a simple question of saying F9. Okay, Rich was too loud. I'm going to turn Rich down a little bit. I was not loud enough. Turn me up a little bit. Let me come over here and listen. Okay. Now, if I was really a pro, I wouldn't export the entire thing. I would only export a small section of it, which would only take a couple of seconds. And then I would immediately know if the volume levels are good, but instead I just export the whole thing. So now I got to wait a couple minutes. And I will say, thanks to another guy who I want to say was right out of Chicago, and I can't remember his name, and I feel like a jerk. He donated like a 4-year-old i7 laptop. Before that, with my 8-year-old or 9-year-old ThinkPad, when I would do this process, it would take sometimes 15 plus minutes for it to export the audio. Where with this i7, it's like 3 or 4 minutes. It ain't bad. Sneezing is your body. Yes, it is. It's your body's way of saying, get the hell out of here, kind of thing. And it works. So yeah. So one thing I will be doing is I will be asking people if there's any events. It doesn't have to be a Linux Fest. It doesn't have to be a podcast event. Any type of event that's in your area, should I come to it? I don't care if it's a state fair. I don't care if it's a corn festival where everyone is eating corn, kind of thing. Next year, 2022, I want it to be just the year of the trip, where I just keep going around. I'm not even about to think about starting up my own conference or event, because that is still way too much work. And I think it's in Maryland really hard to do, because when I look around me, there's not a lot of events. Partially because Maryland's a farming state. You have Baltimore City, and then you have farms. And people at farms don't go to conferences unless, of course, you're going to a tractor thing where they're selling tractors or something. Well, I can tell you right now, if it's an anime conference, I know I'm not fitting in. I'm just going to say that. Technically speaking, Red, Ohio Linux Fest is still around, and I'm still more than willing to go to OLF, but I'm not going to OLF to go to OLF. I'm going to OLF to see the people that go to OLF. Because it really is one of those central places where John Newstetter comes in from Canada. John Miller comes in from Detroit. Chad can come in from North Dakota. It's centralized, more centralized than a lot of other conferences, what I'll say. So I'm not opposed to OLF. No, Jonathan Nadeau and Bruce Patterson were behind Northeast Linux Fest, and basically it was the kind of thing they just could not keep it up anymore. They tried. It didn't help the fact that some open source communities showed that they didn't care a lot about open source. They cared more about their friends. So a couple people in that conference got disenfranchised. I tell you, Southeast Linux Fest, man, I even emailed them to have it in July or August is suicide. Do you know how hot it is in South Carolina at that time of the year? My goodness. I don't think I could handle it. I'm pretty sure like walking from the hotel to the event or something, I would pass out. That's just too hot for me. And yeah, I'm really happy to say that this I'm using OBS Ninja, where it's now being renamed to VDO Ninja. I'm really impressed at how it works. It enables me, if I wanted to have an off-site producer do camera switching and all kinds of things from afar kind of thing. This is really, I think, a really good tool. Yeah, the last time I went to OLF, the real reason I went to OLF the last time, I want to say, was to see Mad Dog. Mad Dog, and I want to say that was the year I literally gave away like $1,000 worth of mini computers. So I was too busy manning the table when I was there. Well, yeah, everything. If it doesn't work with OBS, what year are they in? OBS is like taking over the world. And I remember Webcam Studio, when I spent years trying to get that thing to work and it would never work. OBS came along and now everything works with OBS. Like everything under the planet. And I'm happy about that. And currently I'm using OBS Remote so I can easily switch back from camera to camera. Just super easy to do. Love it. OBS is one of those projects I really should give them a couple dollars now and then, just because they do make my life easy. Well, easier is what I'll say. Makes it easier. Oh yeah, this audio looks much better. See how it's much more even, less extreme highs and much lowers. Very acceptable. I will take that. So now let's see if it crashes when I click stop. Oh, it didn't. Wow. So let's see if I do it again. I gotta say, I am actually impressed with this. It's actually working pretty good now. So now we got to do our normal truncate silence, which is another thing I find out so many podcasts do not do a truncate silence. Thus, in my podcast addict, I can say skip silence. And yeah, I love it. I love skipping silence because I had a couple podcasts try to tell me to skip the silence. It means you miss the humanity, you miss the nuance, you miss the atmosphere, kind of like voodoo, woo-woo kind of thing. I'm like, excuse me? I skip the silence because my brain is working much faster than you not being able to figure out what you want to say next. So I'm skipping the silence kind of thing. Ooh, technology connections, new Patreon only stream or video, which is cool. 3D printing stuff, man. 3D, I cannot believe how big everything 3D printing is getting. In hindsight, I should have gotten a Prusa. I have no problem saying that out loud because when it comes to that physical printer thing, it's just such a pain in the butt. With a Prusa, it's literally you set it and forget it. It's like the Ronco of 3D printers. If you can't print clean with a Prusa, you have bigger problems in your life. You're doing something really wrong. Okay, export. Hey Jonas, how you doing, man? Good to see you. My remote OBS apps remote for OBS by Alder when I got it checked. That's a component in the actual OBS. Yeah, because Jonas. I can tell you, I just load up the deb file on my Linux, install it next to my OBS, runs it as a web server, come here, load it up, and it just works really easily. Damn it, I keep hitting the button. Sorry, Jonas. Yeah, the speed adjustment on YouTube, the Mac Geek I use, I want to say it's YouTube Enhancer browser plugin, so I can go up to like 4x speed with YouTube. Some of the smartest people on YouTube, I believe, talk just a little bit too slow. So with YouTube Enhancer, I can jack them right up and hear them good. Yeah, I accidentally keep hitting the control key. I'm going to blame Rich. Okay, so that's done. So now I come here, copy, paste, done, delete, shut down, shut down. Okay. Now I have to actually do some compiling of textual notes, which should not be hard. And I'm going to try, see, what I need to do is I need to have a thing to when I do hit the right control, which is my mute talk key, it'll give me like a little audible notification. Okay, Control C, Control V, Control H, replace line feed with line feed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Line feed, Control Alt Enter. Replace tab with line feed, Control Alt Enter. Replace mini line feed with nothing. Enter. 80% of my editing notes done. Quick glance recur, because I know somewhere I had at least one note I thought that was also Linux related. Oh, there it's right there. Bang, bang, bang. Delete, delete. Okay, now 90% of my notes are actually done. So let me come over here, load up WordPress. That is, let's see. Okay, so what is it? brain's not working. Ah, I'm an idiot. Okay. Load up WordPress. Do a quick login. FF play. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Oh, so I'm going to guess if I ask what password managers people are using, they're only going to say one of two things: Bitwarden or LastPass, and no one's using anything else. I will say I tried to use Passman again, Passman, which is a add-on plugin for Nextcloud. I got really close to getting it to work again. I'm going to guess I was doing something incorrect is what I'm going to say. Okay, clone, which is right. Vaultwarden. Vaultwarden is the self-hostable Bitwarden, correct? Maybe? I think? Possibly? Oh, I got an update in WordPress. Dang it. Okay. Well, that's not right. What the hell happened there? Let me try something. So did I not name the last mini PC show correctly? I think I misnamed it. Nobody said anything. And I didn't catch it either. I did. Man, dumb door dumb. Okay, let's try it again. Okay. Edit it. Oh, the Rust implementation. Well, then it should be snappy as hell. Correct me if I'm wrong. The one reason to go Rust is speed. Well, let me rephrase that. One of the really good reasons to go Rust is because of speed. It's really hard to get faster, I believe, than Rust, and which is one of the reasons I kept hearing people say people need to do operating systems in Rust. And I don't know what it's going to take for that hurdle to get, done. But I'm kind of shocked it already hasn't, to be honest. Okay, come over here. Control A, Control C, Control V. Ah. Now I got to do a bunch of Control K. Control K. Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, long URL, 10. Okay, good. So now, gotta come over here. Oh, close that. Come over here. Put that back over here. Open here. Say no, because I gotta set the file permissions. Or when I try to set the album art, it go boom. Okay, permissions. This is the kind of thing that should be a single command that I just run that I keep forgetting to make a single command. So put an easy tag. Okay. Bitwarden accepts. Oh, it requires MS SQL, Microsoft SQL. Screw that. I ain't running that damn thing. Now, insecure SQL Server is? My goodness. Only reason I say that's because I was a SQL admin for a decade or something. And man, seeing what I see, I ain't never using that. Okay, so what kind of crap did we talk about? We talked about, Raspberry Pi price increase. Had to talk about that. Oh, SQLite, never mind. SQLite, respectable. SQLite, the #1 most installed database solution now, current, and forever. Nothing is ever going to come close to how busy that is. VS Code. I'm going to say VS Code in a browser. And home assistant tags. Why not? Okay. Control A, Control C, Control V. Okay, round and third. 126. 0. Podnutz. Podnutz. Images. BC. 3,000. Over 3,000. Okay, let me come here to FileZilla. Oh, man, yeah, MS SQL. I mean, I understand why enterprises use it because their applications tell them they have to use it, but also because enterprises love to point and say, we didn't do it, you guys did it wrong, to Microsoft, so you guys fix it. That's why we pay you for support. And hey, you know, they get what they pay for. Okay, 126. 126, uploading. Now, let me do the right thing to say thank you to everyone on Patreon. Okay, now, because I quit VirtualBox, I can load up my full browser with, 800 tabs, and I don't have to worry about locking up. I say that because I'm the guy who disables swap partitions on all of my normal computers, which means if I overload my RAM, I literally just lock up and nothing works, and computer freezes, and I get eventually a kernel panic if I let it stay there. But hey, I don't like swap files whatsoever. 5 likes, my goodness, I don't think that's ever happened ever. Okay, so that is right, that is right, that is right, that is updated, that is uploaded. So now we can come here and say 126. 126. Oh, we gotta give it the proper name. We're not gonna mess that name up again, are we? Control C, Control V, badang, publish. It's still working. Okay. Ooh, I get a error 525. SSL handshake failed. That's not good. It's between Cloudflare and Patreon. That's not good. Maybe it's a me thing. I was going to post this to Patreon, but apparently I'm not going to post it to Patreon. Wow. Maybe Patreon's getting hacked, or maybe they're getting DDoSed. I mean, it happens to the best of us. I know I can access Patreon over here just fine. Not on this computer though. Okay. That's not confusing at all. So let me come here and say close, cancel, close, discard, public, public, audio. 26, copy to public, audio, raw, convert. Okay, so now, if I'm not mistaken, I should be able to easily, in air quote, copy that file. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I got that working. That was too quick even. Okay. So now let's go over to Patreon and say, okay, copy the title, new posting. I sometimes forget to go to Patreon and post the audio RSS feed. And I feel like a jerk when I do that. Because literally, it's like, there's only a couple things I can do for the people on Patreon. Because my whole thing is I really don't want to be the guy who says, well, if you want this or that, you have to go to Patreon. If you don't go to Patreon, you're not getting it. Really? I don't want to be that guy. I really don't want to be that guy. I understand why people do it to try to drive engagement to those things. But just because I get it doesn't mean I agree with it. Okay, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. I'm going to do it public. Post in the Patreon. Done. Okay, good. Done? Good. Okay, now we clean up the files. That's good. That's good. Perfect. Okay, now close that. Captain Obvious 110 followed me on Reddit. Okay. Okay, I have to run to the bathroom again. So I will be right back. When I log into Ubuntu, my Atomic Pi, I still have my Atomic Pi, and it works just fine. I have to log in twice. Have I accidentally set up 2 sessions? No. What I'm going to guess is the first time you log in, something's bombing, and it's taking you back to the login screen. So it's something with Xorg. The way to prove it is go ahead and log into your Atomic Pi twice, set up a new user account, reboot, log into that second user account. I guarantee you have to. Nope, not going to guarantee you. If you do have to log in twice, then the problem is with the base system itself with like Xorg. If you only have to log in once, that tells you there's something going on in like your RC file in your local settings that's causing a crash. And here's the whole thing. On everything I do, the first thing I do is I always create a second account, and then I don't log into that second account. It is one of the best ways to troubleshoot anything. So because then you know, is the problem with the computer itself? Is it a hardware problem? Is it an operating system problem? Or is it just a user profile problem? I'll be back. Yeah, and I'll say, Jonas, if you're still here, Jonas, I was tempted to. I should have. I didn't, but I was tempted to. And I should have literally did one episode of The Makers, all of 30 seconds long, saying, change your Thingiverse password. Because you should. You know what I mean? But I honestly forgot to do it. I thought about doing it the other day because literally it's just a 30-second recording. Easy to do, easy to get done, but I completely forgot about it. So I didn't do it. Yeah, that wasn't very smart of me. So let me see. Oh, got some activity there. Oh, wow. Okay, everyone joining the Discord. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And I will say, I keep thinking 2 things. One, years ago, talking to Steve C and Steve D and everybody else, Podnutz game show. I keep on coming back to that mentally about wanting to do it. where it's literally just, random 3 or 4 people just hanging out, BSing, almost like nuts at nighting, and then interjecting with not off the wall, but trivia. Trivia by default to me is little known things from corners of the world kind of thing. 2, playing some kind of casual game where it's not, cutthroat first person shooter where we can sit down and chat at the same time as playing a game. I don't want to say D&D, but something that easy. Well, Chrome is a hell of a RAM consumption device. Cura is definitely a little bit heavy on the RAM, but yeah, like what I had to do tonight, I had to close down my main browser whenever I do heavy things like the VirtualBox editing and load up a browser where there's only two tabs open and nothing else. And then when I'm done doing the show, I close down VirtualBox, open up my normal browser where I literally have like 60 tabs going because, that's what I do. Too many tabs. Of course, it could be worse. Oh, 10:30. We actually finished at a good time. I'm shocked. Wow. I'll take that. Goddamn gnat flying around. Okay, let me check out this one thing. What is this? I have a Google alert set for ZPG Pro. I don't even know what I have it set for. ZPG Pro. ZPG Pro. Oh, the ZPG Pro is a super, I would say very Asian handheld console with a bigger screen on it. So I apparently set a Google alert up. Anytime it pops up, show me. Because I want to find this thing on sale. Because my GPD XD, which I bought now 6 years ago for $150, still works, but it's starting to act a little flaky. So I'm looking for my next pocketable handheld gaming experience. Because I have to keep my eyes open, or else I'm gonna miss it. All right, guys, I'm gonna hop off here. There's a touch of housework I have to do before bed. Now, between us, the reason I say that is because in the last 20 months, less than 20 months, my wife quit a job, got a better job, now quit a job, got another better job, where she's clearly making more money than me. Here's the way I'm going to put it. She's smarter than me, so she should be, as far as I'm concerned, making more money than me. But because she's making more money than me, I told her basically to her face, I can't expect her to come home and do a lot of housework kind of thing. So me and the boys have been stepping up. We don't do a great job, but we're trying to do all of the cleaning, all of the housework. My kids are stepping up big time, helping with the cleaning. I've been basically doing all the cooking, all the fun, which is part of the reason why it's been harder to stream because we're doing more around the house. So I got to hang up off of here, and I got to do some laundry switching, got to do some dishwasher related stuff. And I have to, I think, check on the propane tank outside, see how much it is. So we don't get low, because if we get low, we got to pay more money. So yeah, doing more stuff around the house, which just means if I was better organized, I would still be able to stream just as much. So I have to get more organized. And I will stream more. Oh, the Steam Deck. I want a Steam Deck. I will do more streaming. I promise you that. I'll look at doing some sort of schedule to where even if we can't do a podcast, I'll at least hop on for at least a half an hour is the logic. Worst case scenario. I think that's the smart thing to do. If you think I'm wrong, just let me know. If you think I'm right, just let me know. All right, guys. Thank you guys for coming out again. Hope to talk to you guys again real soon.